Check. Good evening, everybody.
Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, Esther. Joining from Rotterdam for now, still. It's been a while, Esther. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. Very busy with stuff, but yeah, good.
Good to see you.
Likewise.
Nice one. And we have Robert joining us from did you say you were in Dresden?
Berlin.
I forgot.
Berlin.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But you just came back from Dresden, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Nice to see you. It's been a while, man.
Absolutely. We don't meet. I mean, we meet only here in the World Wide Web. There's no other chance at the moment.
It's the only way, I guess, right now. But actually, we did meet in real life before. I can remember you had some really weird-looking device with you, but we'll talk about that later.
I hope I remember.
I'll remind you. I know. I remember what it looks like.
All right.
And also joining us, Kaan Bulak, and you were joining us from where, Kaan?
Berlin as well.
Berlin as well. Okay, so it's Rotterdam versus Berlin edition this week. That's nice. How are you doing, Kaan? All good?
All good.
Considering,
Super happy.
Yeah, nice one.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I mean, happy to have everybody here. It's a really nice group of people. I've been actually, I don't really do much research whenever I do an episode like this, but oh yeah, I forgot. Split Radix is reminding me, happy 303 day.
I know.
It's 303, guys. Yeah, I don't do much research, but what I thought when I was going through things that everybody is doing, I was thinking the common thread between the music of Esther, Robert, and Kaan is, I think you could say that space is very important. That was something. That was just something that came in my mind because I always say, when you're making sound, it's like the default state is silence, and you basically build up stuff from there. And yeah, I think that's probably how I would describe it. So, what do you think? When I say that, I mean, Kaan, what do you think about that? Is space important in what you do?
Totally agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, Robert taught me how to look at space a bit differently, especially the last time we played together, where he went around the stage to baptize the whole space.
That's a different kind of space.
Did he take your space or?
No, it's funny when usually when I perform, I'm at the venue long before the concert. I need to understand how the stage is, how the backstage is, how the audience places. And with the show with Kaan, it was at Elisabethkirche in Berlin, and I usually go to a little park and I take branches of birch trees. They fall down and I take them and they sound awesome. And I had this branch of birch branches, and I was hitting the wall of the church, like maybe punishing the church. I don't know, but I was like going around. It was a round church. I was going around while Kaan was playing and anti-baptizing the church.
I can feel an undertone of dislike for I don't know what, but no, you have to explain to me branches. I mean, do you actually use branches to create sounds? Is that why you picked them up before your show?
Yeah, I saw an installation of a young artist from Norway, and he didn't took branches, but he took really like thick wood, and he had this machine, and the machine was twisting the wood so that it started to crack, and he was feeding the machine with data from all over the world, so it depended on what data came, and was like more crackling. And this installation had such a big impact on me that since then I was like really into the sound of dry wood somehow. So often before concerts, I go to the park next door and take branches, and then I put a contact mic on it. Or sometimes I hit my gear. I killed my Tenori one with like hitting branches on it. So I don't know. It's somehow it's because I want to be connected. Let's say I want to be connected with the space. So branches are my tool for that. But let's not talk about so weird things in the beginning.
Well, I know it. I mean, no, I'm fascinated. It's I must say it's a first on these chats. Usually, it's about knobs and filters and shit like that. Not always, but that comes up usually. But so okay, you say you collect them and you contact mic them, and then what? Is there a process after that? What happens next with the sounds?
It depends. Usually, the contact mic goes directly into my sound card, and then I have a plugin, maybe something like Gatekeeper, which makes first I do crackling with the branches, and then I put a reverb after it, so the crackling gets a bit stretched, and then I put an automatic gate on it, so it's like, and then I put loads of distortion on it, and then I put another reverb on it. So when I do this, it's like expanding to infinity. That is one way I'm using them.
Yeah, and I guess picking them up from the environment of the show makes you feel more connected with the location or something like that, or have you ever found branches that you want to take home?
Yeah, often I have some I have some driftwood from the Pacific coast. I have driftwood from the Atlantic coast. I have bamboo parts from a building site from a restaurant in Colombia in the middle of nowhere. Oh yeah. I often have the longing of bringing them home. And I was with my friend Lucas in Tenerife, and we found this big palm tree branch. The locals use it for cleaning the streets, and I fell in love with it, and I played the show with it, and then actually we took it home to Berlin. I was sure that that they don't take it at the airport, but they will say, okay, no problem, take your palm tree, whatever. So I'm collecting. I'm not a collector. Sometimes I just throw them away. They have not a really the value of them depends on the situation. It's not a holy thing, or it's holy only for that moment.
Okay, cool. So you say you've performed together. I know you've recorded albums together, Robert and Kaan. So when you do the show, do you have roles as musical partners? Is like one person leading the other one, or one person concentrating on one particular layer of the sound and the other one on the other? What is the division between roles between the two of you, Kaan?
So I'm trying to remember if it actually evolved naturally or if it was actually set, but I think it was obvious that Robert would do a bit more from the percussive side, and I'm playing the piano and adding electronics on top. But Robert is also changing my piano sound as well. So he has a microphone as well in the piano that I'm playing. And the one show that we did at ZKM Karlsruhe, that was with two pianos. So we had one prepared piano in the middle and a Steinway, which was not allowed to be prepared. So that was like the pure piano. Whenever you try to grab into it, they start yelling. So we had to use two pianos. And the middle piano, we came together and we were able to change the roles a bit there. But apart from that, it was more Robert doing the percussive and the more, I don't know, like more the structural things. And I was doing a bit more of the ornamentation.
Okay, so I mean, I've played a lot of... sorry, go, Robert.
I would say that it was the opposite, but
Isn't it great when you disagree on the
Yeah,
rules you
awesome.
actually
He
have?
did the structural stuff, and I was like ornamenting around him.
I sense some kind of rebellion attitude from Robert now and then. Anyway, but yeah. So is your show? I guess I don't know, but I'm just throwing it in there. It sounds like you both have a palette or like a range of instruments, or like you make a choice. What is your instrument, and then you basically start without a plan, right? It's like just improvisation, fully improvised. Or do you have you actually set a key, or do you talk to each other beforehand, like we should build it up like this, or are they actually written pieces that you rehearsed in advance? What is it? How does that work in your collaboration?
I mean, the plan that we had was we have 3 parts or 4 parts, and then kind of an idea of what's happening. But there was also modulation. We had set a key for the beginning, but then there was a modulation which was not planned, and I did it, and Robert came along somehow. I have no idea how he managed to do that on his push, but that had worked. So it's part. It's kind of both.
Right.
Or are you going to disagree again?
Yeah, Robert.
I don't know how I did it, because I have no clue about harmonies and stuff like that. So I'm depending on my ears and like trying to tune in and find out where Kaan is going. I was improvising with Ludovico and Audi, and with him it's much more easy because he has this like ambient, romantic kind of feel, and you kind of can guess where he's going to. But with Kaan, he has this strong impressionistic way of playing the piano, and suddenly he changes key and he's all over, and then I have to like do something. So yeah, it's super interesting.
It sounds challenging. It's really, I think it's really cool because obviously you not only make music in a different way, but also almost speak different languages, and then still be able to. It's like talking with hands and feet instead of having an actual clear conversation, right?
And it's liberating.
And for me, it's like talking to an adult somehow. Like somebody who knows the rules. I'm like, how do we do it, and what is this?
But do you say it's liberating? So you don't think it's something that is limiting the possibilities between the two of you? You find a way to do it, but explain how it's liberating. Then is that because of the lack of rules, or the lack of like vocal communication, or like common language? Is that the freeing thing in this combination?
Maybe because we don't really have bars set, or we don't say we do this 4 times and then we go to the next thing. It's just a thing. It's in the air, and then we agree on another dimension, and then we continue to the next part. So
Right.
that's really liberating, because that's actually something that I know from composing, but that's one thing that I do in writing the piece. But then it's not possible while you're playing it with musicians who are playing from the score. And with Robert, it's super free. Anything can happen. And if I just want to get up and clap while standing on the piano, then that's also okay. But yeah, it's a good feeling. It's like you don't know where you're heading, but you still kind of have this understanding of, okay, this is our universe that we're creating here right now, and you kind of agree on what's happening.
Very
Sounds
cool.
really
Yeah.
interesting. It makes me want to be there right now and and experience it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, let's return to the idea of space, because I mean, I'm quite familiar with your music, Esther, and what always occurs to me when I listen to your stuff, there's, even though it's like a common thing with lots of dance floor music, to compress things a lot and to kind of mesh things together and make sort of wall of sound type stuff, somehow your music has a lot of impact, but it's always so spacious in terms of sound. Is that something you are after, or is it something that just happens?
It just happens. It's
Okay.
just probably what I prefer to hear when I listen to music as well.
Mhm.
And I really like it when every detail, every sound gets his own role in the palette you're creating. And the music I listen a lot to is ambient music, and I'm a really big fan of Robert Henke, Monolake. And he also has his sounds very structured, organized, and I really love that. So it's not what I'm after, but it's just what I'm doing.
Yeah, beautiful. I mean, we had Robert on the show, and we discussed the kind of sound he produces, and I describe it as like 3D worlds, and that is also true for some of your music. It's like
Oh.
like you say, it's something is sitting over there, something is sitting over there. It's all coherent, though. It still makes like a clear picture, but it's for some reason. There's all the sounds have room to breathe and are kind of on its own and still working together with the other ones. And I think that's a beautiful thing in your music.
Thank you. That's so good to hear.
With Robert, you can almost walk around the sounds. And I was listening to your collaboration with Depeche Mode, or was it a remix of Depeche Mode? That was from
Yeah, actually somebody else that I don't know took my track and combined it with Depeche Mode and made his version. So I didn't have anything to do with that.
Okay. No, but what came through, even though it was a kind of or is a kind of busted track, that there is this feeling of space, and there's this feeling of like really like beautifully carved sound design. I was impressed.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, I've never had any lessons in music or whatever. I just started and made things that I love to hear. And
so how do you do it then?
How do I do it? I just sit down and I experiment and I collect stuff and then take it from there. And I'm working on a music conservatory, and my students, they're electronic music students and pop students, and they really get proper theory about music, about scales, about everything, chords, and sometimes I envy them because it makes life easy for them. They can compose pretty fast, and if somebody wants something from them, they're able to do that. And that's something I couldn't do right now because I don't have the tools. I just really it takes a lot of time and effort to finish something for me, because I really have to experiment and pluck things from here and there to get it together. So it's a long process.
But do you have a workflow, or do you have like a studio set where you have your favorite drum machines and synthesizers, and you know that you can rely on them, or is it always new?
No, I'm a software girl. I'm kind of an alien in this group, I suppose.
No.
No, you're a plugin. No, okay, good.
I'm afraid I'm a plugin guy too.
Okay. I really love sounds, to explore sounds in synthesizers, in soft synths. So I like Spectrosonic, and I really like the native instrument stuff, especially with complete control. When it seems like I have the possibility to have so many synthesizers in one small MIDI controller. So I just go explore, and then I get hit by a sound and I take it from there, and it can go anywhere. And at the same time, if I have a direction, I really want to go in that flow, and I don't want to make too many side steps, because I also like to finish stuff. So sometimes when I am drifting away a little bit, I just save a different version and I'll look at it later.
But sorry, one more question. And how do you work with drums, with kick drums, and how do you keep them sculptured?
That's a good question.
Inside the sound? Because for me, this is always like I'm still in this journey of finding my way.
Yeah, me too. I mean, my weakest side, that's what people, who gave me feedback, is always the drum patterns, and I have the tendency to make it pretty straightforward, not much going on. But sound wise, I just collect what I think is really really good. So it can be a sample. Actually, it's always a sample, but I don't sculpt it too much. I don't use too many compressors or EQ. I just select properly. So the basic is already there sound-wise. And then I really like to use a lot of, how do you say, randomizers. Randomizers are like heaven to me because it gives me the possibility to be creative with beats in a way that I wouldn't think of myself. I'm not a drummer. I really like the atmosphere of the music most of the time. So the strongest thing is to make, pads and silly voices or experimental stuff. That's what I really love doing, and the beats is kind of bijzaak. It's kind of less relevant for me. So the randomizers help me to keep it interesting.
Yeah. I mean, randomizers are cool. I mean, there are people that are of the opinion that if you leave too much up to the computer or something that should sort of generate stuff for you, that you are no longer the composer. But I tend to disagree, because you are always the person who says, who sets the limit, and decides, sort of curates the whole thing, and decides about what is the end result, how should it actually sound. So it's more like a little helper rather than cheating. I think.
I actually really, really don't care that much if people think that way, because
no. But I mean, I know what you mean. Yeah,
it's
There is
about
no
the end
cheating in
product.
art.
It's kind of what you deliver and the end result, and if that's satisfying, then it's okay, I think.
True, absolutely, yeah. And do you use found sounds? Do you said you use a lot of samples, but do you also go out and record stuff and then sort of work it into your productions? No,
not really. No, I always I always say this to myself, that I should do that, and I have a good recorder, but I don't have the time.
Okay.
And sometimes I'm just lazy. Then I've my track has started off, and then I don't take the time anymore to do that.
Right. But you do, Robert, right? Because I can hear in your music, or I think I can hear in your music. I mean, talking about your music, dude, I have no idea where those sounds are coming from. I always like music where I have no clue what the hell is going on, and your music is a really good example of that. Some music I can guess, oh, okay, so this is a processed drum machine, or this is some granular synthesis going on, or I can kind of guess what the process was behind it, but in your music I really have no fucking idea what you did to achieve the results, so in my ears it sounds like you do sometimes use found sounds, like field recordings or something like that, or am I wrong?
No, I'm not a field recorder. I'm not because this is like a special way of seeing the world and listening to the world. I record sounds, sometimes environmental, but more like objects. For example, at my last record, I was at this festival, and in the hotel room there was this bright red metal chair. It was made from one piece of metal, and it was like I was banging on it, and it sounded like beautiful. And luckily, I had my contact mic with me, so I glued with gaffer tape my contact mic on the chair, and it was banging on it. And I took it as it was on. I made a little. Reverb on it, a little grain reverb, but I took it as it is on my record. I like to grab things, but I'm thinking more of objects. I'm not so much like an environmental field recorder, and like taking a beautiful sound and putting it into my music. I leave that to other people. Like, for example, Kaan, I asked for, also for my last record, I think I asked on Facebook, I love to ask questions, and I asked for thunderstorms, and people like sent me thunderstorms. So I made a mix of all the different thunderstorms and put it at the end of the very end of my record. That's a field recording, but it didn't came from me.
You just outsourced it. Nice one. That's a
What
cool
about you,
idea.
Jochen?
Sorry?
Yeah, I do use recorded sounds. Yes, sometimes as samples, but what I've also been doing lately is just play stuff that is going on in the studio, maybe one channel or one group or something, and send it out on the speakers, or put some speaker in the room next door, and just mic it, just to get like some ambience around it, and even if the recording is really poor, like if it's a phone recording, recording whatever's going on the speakers from a distance, it does really make a difference if you just layer it underneath the thing that is the original source, just to create like a bit of context or space around it, or give it like its own sort of identity or sonic signature, basically. Mm-hmm. So that's something I experiment with sometimes. It's really cool. I mean, I've once made a setup where there was a speaker in one room and that got mic'd, and it was playing in another room, and so you got this like sort of feedback thing going on, and then the source was only a drum machine, but the end result was like a like really interesting sort of feedbacking ambience, and I just like to, I mean, I've got the space for it, so I just like to fool around with that kind of tricks sometimes, just to see what happens. There's no real plan behind it. It's just, I always ask myself the question, what would happen if ... and that's how I use, that's basically the start of all my projects. I mean, I've explained it several times, but the studio doesn't have a fixed setup. There's just a table behind me, and for every session I grab some tools and connect them in an interesting way, usually without mics, but sometimes recorded sound becomes part of it afterwards. But I just chain things together and see what happens. Like you said, Esther, just explore things, just find something, find a starting point. And usually my starting point is like the system, a chain of stuff, and then I really explore the range of the system as much as I can. And when I think I've basically exhausted it, that was basically the end of the session. And then I take the nicest bits out of it and incorporate them in something else, or I use them as is. It just depends on what it has become, basically. I see a question from Jonathan Toral. Hey, Jonathan, what's up? Question for all of us. Is there some non-musical item you find out relevant to create or manipulate sound? Non-musical item. I guess Robert talked about wood. Anybody else using unconventional things to generate sounds?
Not using, but I really like the sound of metal in big holes, like the industrial sounds. They're very interesting, and also, but I really regret that I didn't record it at the time. I once was in a cave below a hill in Italy, and there was this absolute silence and darkness, and there was the sound of the dripping of the drops from the ceiling, and it was so beautiful. And I still remember it, but I wasn't able to record it. And if I would have recorded it, I would definitely have used it in my music. Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been a proper field recording, Esther.
Yeah, it would have been. Yeah. And Kaan?
I've just gotten into field recording. I used to have a mediocre recorder as I was studying, and so I was recording a lot of stuff, but for some reason, maybe because of my inexperience back then, the recordings are not really usable. But they're a good inspiration. So now I know what to look for, and now I've gotten myself also this geophone by Lom, and I've started trying out, and let's see. You can geophone is this microphone. It's kind of like a contact microphone, but it's not. I guess I don't want to say something wrong, but it also has like this this thing at the end. You can stick it into the earth, and then just listen to the earth with that. Or it also has a suction cup. You can attach it to glass or any kind of also metal.
So it picks up vibrations for environmental vibrations rather than just sound waves. Wow,
yeah,
awesome. Have you ever tried hydrophones?
No.
They let you record underwater. They're really interesting too. I mean, this is something on my list, man. Now you're talking about this. I would love to get into recording with hydrophones and is it geophone? What you said?
Yeah,
that's new to me, but it sounds really interesting too.
And Ura Music is asking on a recorder thing.
Recorders to buy.
Maybe this helps.
That would be your advice. Well, I mean, what I do. I don't have huge experience with recorders, but what I do know that the better your recorder is, the better your mics are, the more they pick up. So you have to make sure if you just want to record casual sounds, like you drumming on some object or whatever, you can probably get away with a less sensitive recorder. But if you want to have a really detailed, very quiet sound, you basically need a more expensive recorder or more sensitive mics. But it also means that the more sensitive they are, the more they pick up. So if you have a really good recorder, it's really, really hard to get a clean recording, because every little thing hums in the background, things that you don't even are aware of that are going on around you will be picked up and end up in the recording. So to answer Aura's question, depends on what you want to record.
But I would suggest that getting a software like Spectral Layers, that's what I'm using to clean up the recordings, because I don't know, in my experience, I've never been able to make a recording that I would just use like that. But I always start changing stuff, especially this spectral view. That's really helpful, and it makes it quite easy to even get usable things from a phone by now.
Yeah.
But
so that's the software that filters away some frequencies, or what does it do exactly?
It looks like Photoshop, and you can actually paint away the things that you don't want. So it's kind of like RX, the Isotope RX software, but it's the one from Steinberg.
Okay.
But I think it's important to get the best recorder with the most beautiful microphones, because I have a Tascam mobile recorder, and it has also some input for external mics with phantom power. But when you hear field recordings from people who really are into it and using external mics, shrubs or whatever, and to a field recording from a Tascam or Zoom thing, it's a completely different world. You have you have a river, a small river somewhere with a Tascam. It sounds like a small river somewhere, but with a good recorder, a good microphone, it's like opening up. It's like a symphony or something. So I would really try to care about the microphones and maybe the algorithm, the sounds get transformed too. But it's such a difference.
It's a deep subject.
Yeah.
It's a really deep subject. Yeah, I mean, of course, you can clean things up, but if you want to capture actual sounds the way they are, of course, you need really high resolution equipment, more expensive stuff. It just depends on what you want to do, I guess. I mean, you can get amazing stuff going with simple iPhone recordings. It just depends on what you want to use it for.
Yeah.
I did record the snore of my husband's, but he didn't like me using it.
Well, maybe you can sneakily squeeze it in there, in somewhere.
Oh, I've actually made a track out of my son's snoring, as he was
Yeah, you did?
like
What's going
1
on?
year old. It's called Sleeping Dante. It's gonna be on my next album.
Nice.
Yeah, it's better than putting pictures of your kids on Instagram. It's better to kind of to put them into your tracks.
A good drone. So yeah,
Yeah.
it makes a good drone sound.
Are those
Yeah,
hand recorders from Zoom any good? Did you say you had one?
Yeah, I have the Zoom HN4 or H4n, something like that. It's already a couple of years old, but it was pretty good a few years ago. But I can imagine that there are a lot of newer models that are even better. But I have a good experience with Zoom.
Yeah, I got the Sony, I don't know, something 1000. I don't know which brand or which number it actually is, but I'm quite happy with it. It's a proper middle of the road recorder. It's cool thing about it is it just runs on batteries. You can take it anywhere. It's small, so it's convenient. And you can get some pretty good sounds from it, so it's okay.
Yeah, the Zoom that I was using is also very nice to record your sets when you're playing or DJing live. And you can also, it has multi-channel, so you can record the sound of the crowd, and it's always like nice to blend that in together after you recorded it.
Yeah, you can. That's mine does that too. So you have like a direct input from a desk or something, and an ambient input, and there's recorded in 4 tracks or basically 2 stereo tracks. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so the other thing, I mentioned in the beginning, Robert, you have to really explain to me what that instrument was. I think because we played together in like a few years back when Super Booth was on, and there was this sort of massive modular or improvisation thing that Boiler Room organized around the event, and you were part of it, and you came in with this massive sort of silver looking device, and I think you explained that it was originally designed to make sounds for measuring people's ears or hearing. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I'm looking at it now.
Oh.
It's called.
How the hell did you find out you could make sounds with it?
I mean, as every electronic musician, I'm searching the web for interesting stuff, and I saw this thing which looked like an EMS synthesizer, so I was like exploring it, and it's called Hearing Science Laboratory, and it's made to understand how hearing works and how the brain processes oral information. So it's maybe my camera. Let's do an experiment. So there it is.
Yeah, that was the one. Yeah.
So it looks like a modular synthesizer, but it's just it creates sine waves, and it creates some kind of sequences, but the sequences are only on volume, not on melodies. You can't play it. You can just do some listening experiments with it, and because you said we could be honest on the show tonight, I bought it because it looks cool, and wherever I take it, people say, "Oh wow, what's that?"
Yeah.
But then I found out that actually it's a beautiful source of sampling. It has 2 sine waves generators, a white noise generator, and some filters, and the filters are super weird. They're high pass and low pass, but the the resonances are in a odd, they do odd things. So apart from posing with it, I'm using it as a source for my sounds, and I use a lot of sine waves, and I use a lot of cut up sine waves, and this thing became now the main source for it, because it's a bit dirty, it's a bit unpredictable, but I sample now directly into Boolean tracker, for example, and it's just nice and weird, and I transpose it and stuff. But it can't do much. You can't play it. It has no keyboard, nothing. It makes just.
Oh, that's cool. I mean, I've got an EMS Synthi, and you can't play it either. I mean, there's a way to sequence it, but I mean, the range of sounds is just incredible, and it kind of makes you look at or makes you act in a different way, because if it's not traditionally laid out as a traditional synth or whatever, you can still be totally creative with it, and even I would say the limitation is even creating new ways of trying to get sound out of it, so it's not a problem if an instrument is not designed to make sounds with, anyway, but I still don't quite understand, what was it designed for? It was designed to make sound, right? It's not a measuring device or anything.
Do I have the book with me? No. Oh. No, it's made for doctors to understand where a tinnitus is and what range a tinnitus is. For example, that would be like a more easy experiment. I have this book, and there are like 40 experiments in listening, like understanding tonal differences and stuff. So it's made for health labs to understand how hearing works, basically.
Yako, what's up, Yako? Oh, she was there that night, and you had some really. Oh, yeah. Maybe you had the book with you at that night when you were, and you were reading patches from the book and tried to recreate them. That's funny.
Who does that on Boiler Room?
Yeah, exactly.
Love it.
Yeah,
no, because but I had like two superstars next to me who like had all the gear, and I had to do something, because they knew exactly what they were doing, and I was like, at least I had something shiny.
Yeah. Yeah, it certainly looked good, Robert. So it's I guess it's just because I got a tinnitus myself. I've had it for, I don't know, 25 years. It's not bothering me or anything, but I do have it. Maybe it was designed to find the frequency where the tinnitus is happening or something. Maybe.
Yeah, I have a tinnitus too, and it's made for that. But so we both like always listening to sound.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I've got a sine wave generator in my ear, man.
How cool is that?
Yeah.
But is it something you are aware of when you're producing your tinnitus? Does it take space in the process with your productions?
No, not at all.
No?
No, I can only hear it when I'm in a quiet room, and now I don't hear it. If I really focus, I can kind of scan for it and discover it. It's not very loud. It's there. I know it's there, but it's it's not bothering me. And I'm sure my hearing is damaged. But I don't suffer from it or anything. I can still hear everything I want to hear, and it's a funny thing how hearing works anyway. It's like part actual sound waves coming into your ears, like the mechanical part of it, and the rest, most of it is actually playing out in the brain.
Mm-hmm.
You're sort of recombining things, or reacting to sound is way more a matter of imagination and how you respond to things than just the actual waveforms, detecting waveforms. I don't know. It's anyway. So in my case, I'm totally capable of hearing everything that I need to hear. So
Do you
I'm not bothered by
harmonize your
it.
tracks to your tinnitus?
I'm not aware of it, so maybe I do, but
That'd be
oh, you mean
interesting.
harmonize? I don't know. It's uh, I do notice that I have a preference uh, for sounds that don't that are not painful. You know, I don't like screechy sounds as much as I used to, but I still use them.
I'm the opposite.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, my tinnitus grows with my music because I love distortion. I love like phase distortion. I love from Audiologic this phase distortion unit, and I put like 2 in a chain. So and then I listen loud on headphones, and when I take off my headphones, my tinnitus is even like it's like 12 dB louder.
Oh man.
But I need to. I love distortion. I can't. My tinnitus has to live with it.
Yeah. But can you
somebody was sorry, Jochem.
Somebody was asking a question.
Yeah,
Oh, sorry.
asking a question about if you know what frequency your tinnitus is.
Mine
no.
is multiple. It's like
Yeah.
it goes from 16 kilohertz to low. Sometimes it's pulsing. Now I have a new thing that's totally just mechanical. So when I move my ear, it's like some ringing. It's like don't get a tinnitus.
Yeah, I mean, when I first got it, I got a bit paranoid for a while, you know, and read a lot about it. And there are actually very extreme forms of tinnitus when people not, you know, where it's just not a sine wave or some bleep, but actual rattling sounds. And you know, people describe hearing tubes and shit like that. You know, it's terrible. But it's never changed. You know, it's there and it's there, and it doesn't really bother me. And I've been more careful with my hearing though since then. You know, I didn't want to push it too far.
I heard voices once. I was like working for this dance company in England, and like days and days and days on headphones. And shortly before the premiere, I was like in my hotel room and I took my headphones off, and then this like a funny opera started, like with choir, super complicated compositions. Like I was sitting on my bed and was like, what's going on? And then there were like old men like talking to each other like in a grumpy way. And I heard this like without headphones, like, and I was like, okay, Robert, this is it. So I was so in stress with this production that it was far beyond tinnitus. My brain created some really like talking and music. It happened only once. Got that.
It's okay. People, you know, I know some very nice people who hear voices, Robert. It's okay. No, but I mean, it is something I read about that actually people can hear music, and there's a difference between imagining it and actually being caused by hearing damage. So what you heard is something that does exist. You know, it's a form of tinnitus, but it's crazy. I mean, it's funny how it works.
Yeah, I also recognize, you know, the sound hallucinations when I play a long set and I come home and I hear in the shower, in the bathroom, the circulation of the air. I would hear music in that, and I would hear music in everything, and it's just really you can't switch it off. So it's very tiring, I think.
It's funny. I mean, it's a really interesting area, actually, what we're talking about now, because again, it's like there's a gray area between imagination and actual detecting sound. You know, like what you said, Esther, is something that happened to me very, very often. You know, I've actually tried several times in the past. You know, if I get that, you know, after playing out on a night in a club, and you get that into that state where you can sort of still hear like the repetitive things, and they're not really in your ears, they're in your brain, but still they're hard to get rid of. You know what I mean? It's like it's
you
still
can't
sort
switch it off.
Yeah, it's like echoing all the time. And to be honest, some of the things you your brain is kind of imagining or is generating in those moments are things that you would actually like to record or to you know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
the best club tracks ever are the tracks that sound like the sort of repetitive zoom in your head after clubbing. You know, like the echo of the night, you know what I mean?
We need
Hallucinitis. Yeah.
hallucinitis.
Nice.
But
I
we
love
need a
that.
brain recorder.
But that's
Yeah.
that's interesting that you say that, because I was thinking before what we should talk about, and what I find interesting, a basic channel, this label from Berlin, and there's this chain reaction, this project, and I saw them a few times playing live, and the sound was so dense and so big and so immersive, but so not unprecise, but so it has so many different layers that you as an audience or as a dancer could hear your own melodies inside,
Yeah.
because it was so loud that your inner ear was vibrating, and that you heard something which was in the music maybe or not, or it was like triggering something in yourself. And I find that I mean that's why I go to clubs, for example, to like experience it. I saw Lomo, Vladislav Delay at Berghain. This was like super mind blowing. The loudest show ever. I was like in the back of Berghain and still like doing this because it was so loud. But it was like there was so much going on.
Yeah, I guess the visual, if people don't understand what the hell we're talking about, the visual equivalent would be if you watch an old television with static, and if you watch long enough, you can start making out actual shapes, and your brain looks for patterns, and you know, it sort of starts recognizing things even though if they're not there, you know. And sometimes that works with sound in a similar way. If there's so much information and it's not really clearly defined, like the chain reaction stuff you're mentioning, but there are many other musical examples where that happens as well. Like, I don't know, like even guitar bands like Sonic Youth or something. There's so much density in the sound that, if you listen long enough, you start to, or your brain starts to recognize things that might not be there or that are suggested to you. It's a really interesting thing. At least you've never been alone.
But the interesting thing is the same happens when the brain gets too little information. So people who are in the cave for a long time in the dark, the brain starts to create images and to create sound, because the brain is bored somehow of the situation because it doesn't get any input. So it starts to project things. And it's interesting that it's like in the reduction, but also in the overload, it's kind of the same phenomenon.
Yeah. Wow. Jacco.
Check it out.
She's suggesting experiments by Diana Deutsch. Thanks, Jacco. We'll check it out. And Simon Halsberger is having.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
I'll write it down later.
I write this down now because I have a pencil.
Oh, okay. You are well prepared, Robert.
No, my brain, my memory is so short, so I have to write things.
Talking about again. Sorry, I just want to mention one more thing about Robert, because your approach seems to be very like your basically. You sound like a person who is exploring a lot and kind of letting things happen, but at the same time, your music is very structured, you know, like very it's like the most well maintained neat room, you know, with everything has its own place, everything has its very clearly defined function, it's systematic, but at the same time very imaginative. I was just wondering, are you would you say you are an organized person, or because it sounds like you have this really this preference for very organized sounds somehow.
No, I'm super messy.
Yeah, I
Maybe
knew you were going to say that. That's why I'm asking that.
I'm a messy control freak, maybe. No, it's it's maybe like in the mid-90s where you had Wolfgang Vogt, all this Cologne, minimal, not minimal, but very repetitive, very reduced techno. And you had Pansonic, this band. This had a big impact. I was like a friend of mine played Pansonic to me, and it sounded like this is what my synthesizer does when I'm not there. It's like that's what my synthesizer does anyway, without touching me. It was like a sine wave modulating. So at first I was like, oh, that's no music. But then it had a really big impact on me, and I'm always searching. I'm always searching for this purity of sound, even though it's like, even though I have like 3 layers of phase distortion and doing all these kinds of things. But I'm always in the back of my head. I have this purity, which I never really reach because then there's a super trigger or another effect plugin which I love, and I fall in love with plugins like this. Like, so I'm like, oh wow, this sounds good. I have to do it. But I'm always, I have this vision of sound, and there's this producer Conny Plank, and he produced Eurythmics and loads of bands. He said no to U2, for example, and he produced DAF, Deutsch-Amerikanische Freundschaft, and these bass lines are still. I'm still in search for these bass lines, and I found one person on Facebook the other day, and he knew what synthesizers they used, and now I know it's an ARP Odyssey what they use. But it's like, I'm like, when you want to reduce my music, it's about the bass line, and the other stuff is like flies or insects or butterflies around it. It might not sound like that, but the bass line is always like which is always triggering me.
I heard other people saying a similar thing about their music. There are, and it's another thing that is. I'm afraid we're going to talk about another gray area. It's like you have these examples from things that inspired you, and you are chasing something that reminds you of the things that inspired you, but you never really get there. But the question would be, how do I phrase this? You're always trying to chase this, but are the things that you initially heard really that impressive, or are they made more impressive in your memory, in your mind, or your recollection of it? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about? Because I, for example, I'll give you an example for myself. I heard so many things in my life that I never found out what it was. Just heard it once, somebody played it, or I heard it through some people's window, and then it triggered something in my mind and left such an impression that I always can sort of recall the experience. But because I can't check what it was, and I really can't go back to kind of re-listen to it in a different context, or really carefully find out about what it was that it triggered me. It sort of starts to lead its own life in my imagination. You know what I mean? And if I chase that, if I want to chase to kind of replicate that or do something with that, the idea or the aesthetic or whatever, then it is basically only, you could say it's just a vague memory or a starting point, and not really the real thing. You know what I mean? So my question to you is, are you really aware of that thing, or do you have you figured it out completely, or is it more the memory or the thing your brain made out of it that is something that is
That's maybe a question to
driving you?
Kaan, because I know he's super focused on his stuff.
I was thinking about exactly the opposite, because there are also some, for example, conductors who say you shouldn't record the concert because a microphone is never capable of achieving what we had in the concert, and recording it the way it should be. So it's a momentary thing, and then it's gone. So I still do believe that you can have certain recordings that are coming close or that are their own thing. But to me, it's all about the moment. It's like it's there, and then I don't want to remember, and I can't even remember. For example, the last concert that I played with my ensemble, I improvised something in my piano quintet. There's a part where I always improvise. I have no idea what I did, and I don't even want to know, because if I know, I might, next time when we're playing it, I might think about it, and thinking is the worst thing you can do on stage. So forget it. Just let it go. Just leave it behind, and then see what's in front of you, and then do the best out of it. That's why I was kind of confused while listening to your question. It's like, why would you want to remember it?
Well, no. What I'm just talking about an experience, right? So you hear something at some point in your life, and you don't actually knew what you heard, but it did make an impression enough to always have it in your sort of collection of memories, you know. And I'm just saying that these memories can take on a life of its own and have eventually very little to do with the original work or the original thing or the idea that sort of was that caused that impression. But I think it's interesting to just to use those things as things to chase, you know, because you know it's like But you know, Robert mentioned very concrete examples of things that kind of blew his mind and you know, make him chase certain things or reach a certain result, and is always trying to make, if I understood you right, always trying to make something that resembles that, you know, and you always fail. You know?
No, I'm always better. I'm always like 10% higher than my idols.
But Jochem, that doesn't mean necessarily a technical aspect of music. It can also be a sound or just an image in your head when you listen to it, or a concept.
It's not, I'm really talking about the gray area, you know, like the imaginative part, you know, not the actual sounds or I don't know. It's just now we've been talking about you know, tinnitus and how the brain can fill in gaps and can generate things that are not there and stuff. You know, I was just expanding on that by going there. You know, but anyway.
If you do that, actually. Oh, sorry.
No.
I think it sounds like a bit you're listening with your whole body and your whole soul and everything. And since all of that is listening, it's kind of adding something from you into it. And so it's not going to be an objective thing that you're remembering.
Yeah, you mean in my case?
What you were saying.
Yeah, I mean, I approach music. I mean, you are an instrumentalist, and you have a direct interface with your instrument, right? So your brain is basically almost connected to your instrument, to your piano or whatever. But I have to. I'm you know, my route to the result takes a lot longer because I have to do a lot of sculpting and a lot of modifying and a lot of you know, sculpting, I would say, is the best word, before I reach the aesthetic or the thing that makes me say, okay, now I'm getting to something that is clicking with me, you know. So it's a longer process. There's more distance between the idea and the imagination and the actual end result. I mean, I don't get of course you don't get it when you're performing live. I do a lot of live improvisation things as well, and it's more direct. But I would say the aesthetic there is less important, and it's more about flowing and about being in the moment. But if I'm if I'm preparing something to record, I'm paying way more attention to, the spectrum of the sounds, how things relate to each other, the space around the sounds, all that stuff. And that's just matter of fact, that's just a reality. It takes time to get there, so it's a longer process. And then in that case, I'm led by an aesthetic that is a vague, imaginary thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And can you let go of that imagination that you had in the beginning? Also, Esther, also you. Like, how is that?
Yeah, I find it pretty deep stuff to talk about. Because what you explain, Jochem, I don't really experience it like that. Sometimes with me, it's in my subconscious. So I would produce something and make a melody or a song, and then to realize that I just replicated some really cool track that I heard 2 years ago, or in some, it's a production from somebody else that I used to play, so I can throw it away. So that's the different side of what you are explaining, Jochem.
Yeah, I think I'm probably more talking about the aesthetic of the sound design. The sound. I wouldn't consider myself a musician even. I think what I do has more to do with sound than with music. You know what I mean?
Is there an instrument you would say, like, this is my home? This is like when I switch a button or turn a knob, this is me? This is like...
No, I see every instrument as tools. They're just there to help shape the sound. Of course, I have my favorites. Stuff that I can get results with easier than others. But if my studio would burn down and I have to start over again, I would still be as productive. With the new stuff that I would get. So I don't really care what. Or not, I do care, but it wouldn't matter. I could have, you can hand me any, synth or sound device, and I can explore it and do something interesting with it.
That sounds super healthy.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. It's healthy. Why do you think that?
Well, people are very attached to certain tools, and it's great to transcend those instruments and just seeing them as tools for the greater essential thing, which is music,
so you
and sound itself.
You don't depend on it. You can make music with anything you run into, basically.
I like to think so.
Yeah,
I mean, I would be gutted if some of the stuff that I collected disappears. But I'm just saying that it, so I do have a relationship with some instruments, like, and it's just because I've used them for years and I know them, and some memories got attached to it and blah blah blah. That part of it is that makes me have an attachment to them. But in terms of doing something interesting, I wouldn't need a specific synth.
Maybe in terms of workflow, because we were talking about the EMS before, and that it brings you to different results. Maybe there's something.
Oh, okay. Not really, because like I said, I built half of the fun of the way I've been making music for the last years is just to have like a little bit of pre-fun by thinking out a system, or I call it a system, but it can be something very simple. If, let's say, what would happen if I connect this to that, and then this is like I can already have fun in my head thinking about it without even try it first. And that's basically just a starting point, and then I explore whatever is possible with it, and then I arrive at some sort of sweet spot at some point when I think, okay, now this is becoming interesting, and then that's what I'll use.
But for example, I mean, I've told you in the past that I adore your album G Spot. Was there a certain synthesizer that you used to create that album?
It's really basic stuff, like I don't know what I know there was a Juno 106 there, System 100, pretty standard drum machine samplers,
So nothing that really stands out that you would still use anymore.
Yeah, I've sold some gear, but usually most of the stuff that I had back then I still do have. Yeah, so I've never, because I found out, when I move places, or when I think I've exhausted a piece of gear, or at some point you think, okay, now I'm ready for something else, and I'll use something else. But if you go back to an instrument years after you've used it last, and also maybe even use it in a different space, it takes on a whole new life. It becomes a new instrument, because even the things like the position where it is in the room for some reason makes a difference to me. I don't know why. You know what I mean? It's like, how prominent is it in the setup, or how does it relate to the speakers, so you can hear it in a different way, or maybe one room does have worse acoustics than the other, and in one room this instrument sounds really good, and in the other it sounds shitty. I don't know. It's all these things make me use or not use certain synths at certain times. Talking about acoustics, I mean, that's something that must be very, very important for you, Kaan, because if you're playing an acoustic instrument, it's acoustics of the room, or where the instrument actually is super important, right? I mean, it can make or break the sound of the piano.
Yes, definitely. And recently,
how important is that? Yeah, I was just wondering, how important is that for you in your music and in the...
It's really important when we go and do a sound check. I mean, even with just plain acoustic instruments like a string quartet, you have to do a sound check, because you have to adjust the tempo to the place you're playing in. It's just not going to be the same tempo. Like, for example, the chamber music hall at the Philharmonie Berlin is not going to be the same tempo like when you're in a church. Yeah. It's a drastic change in tempo. Sometimes can be up to 15-20 BPM.
Wow. Parts. Is that because the sounds ring out in a different way and things get obscured? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
And sometimes you just realize, okay, there is nothing we can do about the sound. Let's just play as fast as possible so we get through.
So you have to do some GABA then.
Yeah, why not? No, but that's really a difficult thing. I mean, figuring out how it's resonating, and because you have to listen to the other instruments for finding your entry. For example, when the cello is doing a solo and then I'm starting afterwards, I have to know the exact millisecond where I'm starting. And that's obviously it's by intuition, but it always changes from place to place. So we don't have a sync. I hate giving them a click. So never a click. It's always by breathing in together jointly, and it's like I'm at the piano, and if we have like a percussive pattern going on, it's going to be me kind of breathing in, like, and then I hit the play button. And if for some reason the button doesn't work, then I'm in huge trouble.
I know this.
Yeah, but I mean, it's really interesting.
Observe. You really have to observe the body language of the other musicians as well. Not only listening to the music and the reflections of the sound and the latency, but also the body language. Because you say, when I breathe, then they know when to start or when to fill in.
They hear it and they sense it. We rarely look at each other.
Oh, they hear it.
Yeah, you kind of hear it, even if it's just breathing in. It's this thing that I mentioned with Robert, where it's on another dimension. There's this connection. There's a patch cable running.
It's like hardwired.
Yeah, and then if you play together for a certain time, then you get in sync in a way that transcends BPM and MIDI commands.
Yeah.
Wow, I mean, I love this talk because so far we've only been talking to things that are really hard to describe and impossible to explain usually to other people. All the gray areas, we are covering all the gray areas. Really
Huge
nice.
fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, but yes, talking more about acoustics because that's something I'm obsessed by. I mean, for example, when I play in a club, like for example. Robert was mentioning Berghain. I usually play clubs like that, which have a very sort of unique acoustic to it, with my monitors almost completely down. Because I really like how rooms can add so much to whatever you do. You can hear the highs sort of rushing around and bouncing off the ceiling and the corners and everything. And I just really enjoy playing with that, with the dynamics of the room as much as I do with the dynamics in the music itself. There is really you got a sound system, so you've got the direct sound, but you also have all the stuff that the room does to it, which is something you can if you isolate yourself by having loud monitors, you don't even are aware of it. But if you start listening to it, you start playing completely differly.
So you're beat
Are you
matching
talking
to
about
the
live
venue.
playing?
No, not beat matching. I'm talking. I'm really talking about the sonics, right? So beat
Like
matching is not.
understanding the space and listening to the space.
Exactly.
Yeah. But there is still, I mean, regarding the reverberation. Sometimes I read this about. I think it was Ricardo Villalobos, that he apparently heard some kind of reverberation, and it was the fourfold of a certain number, which happened to be the BPM of the track that he was playing, and then he kept doing beat matching to that. So the whole thing was beat matched to the venue.
Right. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, I don't do beat matching too much because most of that is taken care of. I can beat match, but I think it's overrated. I don't know. I really don't care. It's easy to do, but I think I can express myself much better if I don't have to think about that and just can focus on sculpting the sound. That's basically what I do. And just creating dynamics in the overall sound and playing with frequencies, and that's playing with energy also. That's basically what I do.
I'm totally the opposite. My monitor has to be like super loud.
Yeah.
I have to be.
Why doesn't that surprise me?
I am the same, Robert. I need that too.
No, it has to be. I need it's like a cushion or something. I'm dressed in a cocoon. I make it so loud that I'm really almost alone because the sound is so surrounding me. But of course I hear the bass frequencies in the space, and I'm with the people, so I'm aware of the space. And for me, it's maybe what you experience in your concert. For me, it's maybe more the hours before the concert. So I'm really like in the space. I'm understanding. Oh, the barkeeper is nice, or the cleaning lady. I talk to her, and whatever. So I'm really like I'm trying to understand where I am, what city is it, but when I do a show, and there was also with my Berghain shows, my monitor is like almost my hair is like because I really like this super strong sound on stage, like really that I can. Because when sometimes I do like little movements, like a fine tune on a resonance or on a filter, the frequency, and when it's super loud, I can really hear the change a lot. I can be like, oh yeah, it's like a millimeter, but it does a lot. And for me, I mean, it helps me breathing or living inside my music. Having a loud monitor, but that's my personal thing.
No, it makes sense. But I mean, you are actually tuning instruments in real time. So yeah, you need a better direct feed. You need to really hear what you're doing. And in my case, I'm playing recorded material, and layering it and sculpting
Right.
EQs and stuff like that, and adding effects and programming things live. But it's the levels are not really the issue, and it's more like So I have my I really don't have to get into the micro things that much as you, I guess. How does your performance look like, Robert? What do you do? What are the fixed things, and what are the things that let you improvise?
I don't know. For years, I had like half an hour, not fixed, but I kind of knew what I was doing, kind of themes from the records. But after 30 minutes, I was like, I have no material anymore, so I have to do something new. So I was from that point, I was like, oh my God, what's going on? And I was like creating new stuff. And sometimes I was like, when the act before me played, I was like creating a new song backstage, like doing stuff, and then I went on stage and played this track and tried to understand if it's like fitting. So I love this feeling of risk and of like adventure and failure and victory and something. So I like to put myself into a situation where I feel like kind of insecure. Like I'm on a motorbike, but it's maybe too fast, or the engine is too big, or something, or the landscape is too wild. So I'm like, what's going on? And I try to get it in the direction I want to have it, but it's pretty open sometimes. So.
Yeah, cool. I totally relate to that, man. We've been discussing live performance a lot on these chats, and like for example, what you're saying is almost one-on-one the same thing that, for example, Tony Surgeon always talks about, and it is true for myself too. If it comes to live improvisation, so not DJing but playing music live, I mean, it's the dangerous element in it. The danger is something you really need. If it's too prepared and too you can really only fuck it up when you're too prepared, because then it's just going to be boring. and throwing yourself in a situation where you have no idea how to get out of is creating the moments where you have to kind of fight for it, or have to be really sort of in the moment and very responsive to whatever is happening, and that creates like a super state of focus for some reason, which is not always. I mean, you're using the part of your brain where things are just basically flowing from your intuition, and that is, I think, what a live performance makes a live performance more interesting.
Maybe adding one thing, I read about like 70s free jazz musicians from New York, that they were like rehearsing for 8 hours before the concert, and then they played a free jazz concert, like super free. But because they were rehearsing and they knew their tools and they knew the freedom and the adventure, they actually could explore even more on stage. And I quite like the situation. People hate me for like, I play backstage till the last second before the show. I'm always like with headphones. I'm like, no, I have an idea. Let me do it. Can I have some power backstage? Please switch on my instruments. But I really like to have a really long preparation before a show, so I can, like, when I'm on stage, I can dive into it. I'm not like I'm not the person who can like switch on the machine and play.
Yeah, I mean, the key with playing electronic music live is obviously you have to know your material or your setup or whatever you're using really well. You have to kind of it needs to be almost transparent to you. But what you're actually going to do, like the moment you step on stage and press start, can be completely completely 100% unknown as far as I'm concerned. But of course, you need to know what the range is that what you can achieve with the set of tools that you brought. I guess.
I think you are so brave. I think you're really brave.
But I have a normal question, which brings us down to everyday life of electronic musician. If you have, to all of you, if you have like, let's say 60 centimeters of space in a club on stage for your gear for a set of 60 minutes, what gear would you bring? 60 centimeters by 70 maybe or something.
Well, I mean, if I can answer the question, I would just bring stuff that has a small footprint and a wide range. It's pretty much the.
Like.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't have actual examples in my studio. Well, I do, but probably some small Eurorex GIF and some. I would also include a DJ mixer, because I think, they are simple enough to control and keep an eye on, and they're complicated enough to be very flexible on them. So I think a DJ mixer is fine. Having 4 or 6 channels of audio is perfect. Just not too much, not too little.
Can I ask something more? How do you connect? If you say you have a Eurorack, how you connect the DJ mixer to the Eurorack?
Whatever the setup around it is, So
you have a stereo out and RCA in.
Yeah, it depends, I mean, I also use Eurorack stuff, which is just effects, so that would be connected to the sends, or okay. I would run something through it and maybe use the dry wet or whatever. I don't know. I don't think that makes much difference. But I mean, I think the range of stuff would probably be my main criterion. How big is the range? Is it controllable? I mean, some synths or modules or whatever, they do something interesting no matter what setting you dial into it, and others can go completely crazy, or you can lose the sound, or shit disappears on you, and those would be the ones that I don't use. I would use the ones that no matter what I do, still do something interesting, but has a huge range. You know what I mean?
Esther, are you on Ableton or?
Yeah, I'm on Ableton, and I really don't prefer to go live. I tried it for a while, and not really live with hardware, but with a MIDI controller and the laptop. And I'm such a control freak, and so stage frightened that I almost fainted a couple of times. I tried it for a year, and then I stopped doing it. Mm-hmm. So I would love to try again and have the time to explore and do it in a way that Robert is doing it, because it sounds really like fun. But you really have to know your gear.
Scary.
And, it's really scary, but it's also.
Don't do it.
Yeah, but it sounds like freedom to me. If you know your gear so well that you can depend on it and just go explore live, and you go somewhere and you take people with you, it must be really, really, really fun. But at the moment, if you would ask me what I would bring on stage, then it would be 2 CDJs and a mixer, and just do a DJ set. Yeah. Sorry, guys.
No, fair enough. I mean, I don't think you can dismiss anything that makes noise as an instrument. So it's I don't know. What about you, Kaan? Because what is interesting about let's talk about your path, because you're a trained musician, right? And
not exactly, but yes. Yeah.
No. Okay, but I mean, but you are. Well, I don't know. I wouldn't. If the stuff that I hear from you, your instrument is mainly piano, right? But you also do stuff with samples and sequence stuff and everything, and you record sounds and play live with them. that's something I mean, you don't often really see that combination, with sort of strictly traditional and really experimental electronic approach. Wasn't the piano enough?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't planning to continue the piano as seriously as I'm doing it right now. It was not really my plan as I moved to Berlin. I was stalking Robert as I moved to Berlin, and
Successfully.
Yeah, successfully. It took like, I think 5 or 6 years, and then he said, "Okay, we can go into the studio."
Okay.
So, but as I moved here, my goal was I don't know, Euro accents and going fully electronic, and then playing in clubs. I did it for a while, which was really nice, and every now and then I still kind of do it. I mean, obviously not now, but it's really something that I enjoy a lot, and combining that knowledge from how big speakers react to certain things like filters and how you can become a virtuoso in turning the filter knob, and applying that knowledge to a very common instrument which is not even capable of different tunings. That's been kind of the interesting middle way that I found in the end. But I did not study piano, actually. I studied audio engineering at SAE Berlin, and then I went on to do a sound studies and sound art master at University of Arts. So I faked it until I made it.
Do you feel that but you did have music education, but like as an audio engineer, do you think that's something that helps you, or can it also get in the way of things?
I mean, it was in the way for quite a while, but nowadays I'm super happy about it because I had this idea of augmenting the piano, so having a loudspeaker below the piano, which is augmenting the sound live, and it's a 360 speaker, which let me show. It's the one over there.
Oh wow!
This goes below the grand piano. This is built by Martion. Maybe you know bullfrogs or organ. It's a horn loudspeaker. It goes below the grand piano, and it was a collaboration with him. And this wouldn't have been possible if I had just followed this classical path. And so the engineering part was really helpful for that.
Right.
Yeah.
How do you get the idea to do that?
I had this. It was interesting, as Robert was saying, that he was listening to this opera piece in his head as he was sitting in his hotel room, because that's pretty much how I compose. I just sit somewhere and listen to music in my head. And sometimes I put in headphones to walk around the park, and then I listen to the music that I have in my head evolving. And that, for some reason, it's mostly around instruments, but sometimes it also extends the frequency range of the instruments, the idea that I have. And in this case, this was my piano quintet, augmented piano quintet. And the idea that I had for the piano, it was not possible to do it with a piano. I would have needed a second piano or someone playing synthesizers. And I thought it should be somehow possible that I put 2 microphones inside the piano and add some effects or some kind of augmentation to the piano. And also because I was always jealous of my violinist in the ensemble, who is able to hit one note and then still vibrate and change the note, which you can't on a piano. So I thought I have to find a way how to do it. And by having the electronic sound getting fed from below into the resonant wood of the grand piano, I can do a pitch shift, for example, and then it's added to the acoustic sound, and then you have this wobbling thing in the hall, and depending on where you're sitting in the hall, you're going to hear a different rhythm. That's also
Oh, I mean, but so you have to explain a little bit more what it does, because is it just playing back the sound amplified that is coming from the piano, or would you say it's also playing back into the piano? So so the sound source that the speaker replays, is that a mic'd sound, or is it actually doing something else as well?
The speaker is not amplifying at all. There is no amplification going on because the grand piano itself is loud enough for the holes that I play in. And the loudspeaker is only adding the effect sound, or if I have some additional samples or something going on.
Oh, right.
And then it's getting mixed in the air in the hall. So it's a very organic sound. And the loudspeaker is also radial, so it's 360 degrees. So you have it like a cello or a violin would play.
Oh, so the idea, yeah. So the idea is that you can have other sound sources played as if they were coming from the same spot as the piano, like it's radiating the sound out. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought for a moment you were saying that it's sort of the sound that coming from it also influences the sound of the piano itself, that you are kind of resonating.
Well, it does. If you, for example, if you have the live piano sound getting changed, for example.
How do you control that? Is that just a lucky accident, or is it something you have to really fine tune or something?
Yeah, you have to fine tune. I have a small controller on the piano where I have the 4 channels of effects, 4 different effects. One is like a granular delay. One is a pitch shifter, a ring modulator, a very slow ring modulator, where you can start with the note and it kind of sounds like an amplification, but then the sound from the speaker moves away gradually, like just hertz by hertz, just very slowly, and then it starts this ring modulating effect in the air.
Wow, it sounds awesome. How much does the piano itself respond to the additional sounds? Yeah, that's what I was wondering about.
So I'm also the person playing the piano, so I'm kind of reacting to what I'm doing, and I think the sounds sound much more organic because there is the wood below the piano, this resonant wood, and it's helping those sounds to come together with the acoustic original sound of the piano as well. So if that's what you mean by reacting, but I'm not quite sure.
Can you make it feedback?
Actually, I can't because I don't have any dry signal going through the loudspeaker.
Okay, yeah.
So it's only wet signal.
Right. Yeah, I could.
If you make it loud, it should feedback, or even if you have like a grain delay or something. But I mean, of course, I mean, as you said before, it's like a live acoustic space. So everything which you brings into the space, which goes into the microphones, gets amplified. So it's like it's not creating feedback, but it's feedbacking somehow. It's like a live sound system.
That's awesome.
I was impressed when I saw it. Also, Kaan is one of the few people who really like jump from one field or let's say it like he knows, like he has a big range of knowledge from like classical music composition to studying sound design and sound creation. So he's like, I invited him a few times to NYU, a university from New York, with a department in Berlin, and the students come from a pop background, and I invite Kaan because he's a person who's like into techno, but also into acoustic music. He creates his own speaker system, so it's like it's a rare person who's like in this like field of classical electronic improvisation music.
I'm just lost.
Now I'm starting.
Yeah, that's a lot of area to cover, Kaan. That's a very brave thing to do. You know, so many areas to Well, I mean,
But
I guess
the
in
funny
your
thing is,
case, it's in the combination.
the funny thing is, he really knows what he does. It's not like, it's not he's pretending, or he's like, when you ask him a question, you get an answer. It's not like blurry something.
I mean, sometimes it just feels like climbing up a mountain, but also building the mountain while you're climbing up it. So it's kind of a weird terrain where I don't know where I'm at. And then I feel like maybe I need this to get to the next step. And then you just put stuff on top, but then you still have to climb it somehow. So it's kind of a weird feeling. Yeah.
So whereas at what stage are you now? What is in your mind, or what is your sort of the most immediate next goal?
Currently, I'm working on a commissioned piece for loudspeakers, and it's going to be like 30 loudspeakers outside, and it's going to be a 30-40 minute piece, and I'm recording Baroque harp and violin and piano and lots of electronic stuff. So I'm coming back to the more oscillated sounds. I've missed it.
Yeah. Nice. Sounds interesting.
Yeah, very.
Yeah. So how does that work then? Will that be performed when things get back open again, or is it something that is going to be filmed or videoed or whatever? Or recorded?
Actually, I think it's going to happen no matter what, because it's outside and it's yeah. I'm honestly not sure if I'm allowed to talk about this.
Oh, okay.
Please,
there's also like some else, a dance company involved and all that kind of stuff. So it's yeah.
Never mind. So then let's switch to Robert. What's next for you, Robert?
I have this residency at Festspielhaus Hellerau now, where I do research on art and dance and the connection between those two forms. I'm in the middle of making a kind of film with a theater, Gorky Theater. It's after a novel from 1929 from Russia about communism. It's like a futuristic thing, and we do this kind of radio play, but with the photo, so it will be a photo film, a bit like La Jetée from Chris Marker. And then I'm preparing a 6-hour show for the morning, from 4 o'clock to a.m. to 6 and to 10 a.m. playing ambient music, I guess. That's really an adventure that will happen at Tonlagen Festival in Dresden, also at Hellerau. And my solo record should be on its way somehow. That's what I always say, but so I have some ideas, preparing something.
Okay, so you with your solo album, are you already in the recording process, or is it just are you thinking about what you want to do?
I'm terrible. For my first record, it took me 10 years because I was so scared of my label, raster-noton, in those days, and I was like, what can I do for this amazing label and stuff?
Oh, you were intimidated by the idea that you were releasing on a label, and that kept you from.
Because my music at those days sounded pretty different, and I was like, oh, what do they expect and something, and it took 10 years, and there was a situation where I went to the mastering studio pretending that I was done with the record, but when I entered the mastering studio, I said, sorry guys, I have nothing. I can't give you anything. And they were, oh, okay. So it was like a therapy thing. But the last record I done pretty fast, and I hope to do this fast too. I remember when I watched one of the last sessions that I was asking actually how important is to play in a club to understand your music and to compose. And for me, it's very important to hear the bass sound, hear the bass frequencies, hear the music loud. So we're hoping for this record to find an empty club and to play some
Yeah,
tunes.
I'm sure there are many.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, so is that something you want to do? Like check it in on a big system before you decide whether it's good? Okay. Well,
Yeah,
okay.
the last record was created at Berghain, actually. I was
Really?
like, yeah,
Wow. Okay.
it was like they asked me, my label asked me to do a live show, and I wanted to do something new because my old live set was so old. And then I done like 6 themes, but very fast, and then I improvised them at Berghain, and then it felt somehow good, and then I produced the album from that material.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, I mean, if you, what I'm thinking is, if you are an artist who is regularly playing live and performing live, you are capable of doing things in real time, right? So why do you take long to record something then?
Because I'm a messy control freak, you know, I love the mess, but when I re-listen to the mess, I'm like, oh no, what's going on? This is like this, you can't do this, and then I have to chop pieces, and sometimes I work on a loop, especially the ending of a piece is the most difficult thing, like the fade out, and then the reverb comes in, but then the reverb gets filtered, but the filtered reverb gets distorted in the end, but then it gets filtered again to be not too distorted. So it's that kind of thing. So I'm really, I sometimes I'm lost in details.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Okay. Yeah.
so it's like this wild thing. Yeah, that's what Olaf Bender, the boss of my label, says. Robert, just record the shit live. I mean, it's cool
Yeah.
what you do. Don't bother. Don't go to the studio at all. But I'm like, I want to do something special, and then I'm trapped for years.
I remember once as we were improvising at ZKM, Robert was scrolling through Ableton, and he said, "This kick sounds amazing, but I have no idea where it's coming from." So he was like scrolling like crazy.
Many surprises.
Yeah, I think there's something to say about recording stuff and being immediate about things. You know, I find when I record something, I like to capture whatever I record in real time, and then only do sculpting afterwards, kind of to even, you know, the sculpting would be something to just enhance what idea emerges from the recording, if you know what I mean. But in terms of yes, writing things, that's usually the result of an improvisation, you know, and it's always been like that. Even the sounds, like Esther mentioned, that Warp album, that is, although it sounds quite structured and arranged, it is basically just a cut up version of like a reassembled version of like a very long live take, you know.
Lucky you.
Yeah. So,
It
but
also
I mean,
sounds like that. I mean, it's really, yeah, you can hear that.
yeah,
Listen
yeah.
to the album.
Are you a fast worker, or are you getting stuck into details, Esther?
Me?
Yeah.
Well, when I'm full-time producing, I'm pretty fast. I can get lost in the arrangement kind of thing. You know, I really want it to make sense, and you know, it really has to make sense. So I go back to it all the time, and then take a rest for a few days to listen back objectively, and then adjust some stuff. But there is quite the finish line is always in sight. Yeah, so I'm not lost in the details like Robert explains.
Right.
But a
Lucky
fast
you.
worker, I wouldn't call myself. No.
No, but I mean, you, yeah. So you don't get lost into details, and basically you are capable of drawing the line fairly
Yeah.
quickly. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I do.
Foreman showing up. What's up, Foreman?
Applied
great.
autonomy.
question for. Okay, yeah. So the title of the album.
Second record from the back. Left. Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go, Voorman.
Nice artwork.
Did you do the cover as well, Robert?
No, that's Lucas Guterres. That's a friend from Argentina who lives in Germany, and I was stalking him because I was like looking for digital art in the internet, and I found his work, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. And then I asked him to do the artwork, and he showed me one sketch, and then he showed me like 2 weeks later like the sketch for the artwork, and I said, like, I take it, don't touch it, it's like beautiful, I want it.
Nice. Yeah, it's beautiful. But you do covers yourself as well, right? You do visual stuff.
Yeah,
Like-
I do installations
like
and stuff, but on a different kind of thing.
Okay. Now Kaan is going to grab something.
Oh yeah, I know.
What did you get there?
Yeah, Robert does.
Yeah. So did you? Did you get the cover that Robert did? Okay. So is this like? It's nice, man. Is it some? What is the process you use there? Is because you're more like visual art, like more like installation type guy. But is this like a capture of something that has existed in a room or something, or is this?
That was a Aquarellzeichnung. How do you say aquarelle? Like with brushes and paint and stuff. Because we were playing at ZKM in Karlsruhe, and the place was called Cube. So I was like doing a kubus, and I was like doing a simple version of a kubus with paint, and then digitally, I made 100 versions of the kubus. Like every cover has a different color, slightly. So I worked a lot with thresholds in Photoshop. So, but it's like handmade, basically.
Wow. So they're all different. That's awesome. Nice. I believe you. You don't have to prove it.
And yeah, it's just 100.
Nice.
This is Kubus. This is out on my label, Feral Note.
Oh, that's why you were showing all the different ones, Kaan.
Now I understand. Yeah.
I thought you were just showing off how many you had.
Yeah. I have 4.
Yeah. Nice one.
No, because it's maybe it's a similar process to making music. If you look at those details here, and you put a filter on, like a color filter, that they change completely when you take out the blue or when you take out the red. So it's super similar to like doing filtering music. So it was actually the process felt super familiar, super home when I did it, because it was like basically doing a different version, a different filtered version of every cover.
Awesome. Well, listen, people, we've been almost talking for 2 hours, and we don't have a format for this chat, but usually.
But we didn't talk about music gear at all. I was.
Well, if you want to, we can do another hour, and you can have you talk about gear if you want.
I'm happy actually, because my knowledge is a bit limited.
Yeah, don't say that. Come on. I mean, with the even if your knowledge is limited, you whatever comes out of it is incredible. So don't make excuses.
It's all super trigger, but the effect doesn't exist anymore.
No, what I was going to say is that usually we give everybody a little bit of time to promote or make people aware of what they're currently doing, or maybe you have some stuff you want to share with people. Where can people find your music and that kind of stuff? Esther, what do you want to share?
What I would like to share is that I'm working full-time for the Music Conservatory, and I've been developing together with colleagues a really new line of education, an associate degree for young people who want to study electronic music, and it's been occupying all my time like the last 2 years. But I'm also working musically on a remix for a band, for a singer, a guitarist, and I just got all the parts, and I'm exploring the MIDI and putting it into rare experimental stuff, and I'm just sketching, but it's taking some form now, so I hope to finish that in the next couple of months. And I'm making baby steps in exploring the modulars because I'm really interested in.
Nice.
Well, it's not. I mean, I'm
affected by the virus.
Watching people doing it, and I'm a little bit how do you say, scared of the technological side of it. But I did download the CV rec, and I am following the tutorials from what's his name, Cohen. Omni Cohen or something like that. You does ring a bell, right?
Online tutorials, you mean?
Yeah, online. Okay. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, really, really great. So that's what I'm doing musically.
Sounds great. I mean, I think it will suit you, Esther, because if your process is with the reactor stuff, just go in there and exploring sound. That's your rec is absolutely amazing for exploration. That's really what it's all about, So
I just need time.
Yeah. Don't we all?
Yeah.
Sounds good. Well, I mean, we'll keep an eye out for the results. Should be amazing. Kaan, anything? Yeah, you kind of already revealed.
Thank you, Snow.
Yeah, Snow says Omri Cohen. You already revealed the thing that is under NDA, so please don't don't talk about that. But anything else you want to make people aware of? Anything you're working on? Where can people get your music?
So I'm also running this label Feral Note, and this album with Robert is on there, and we still have some of the limited ones. So it's a unique thing, and this one in the we do have Bandcamp, and
Sander will look it up and post it in the comments.
This thing here is the cover of my piano quintet, which we also released. I'm planning to tear this apart and sell each part as the vinyl cover, just like a super limited edition. And let's see what we're gonna do. But apart from that, I also have just finished writing a violin sonata, which will be premiered in summer on Verbier Festival. And apart from that, I've been missing my modular, and so I'm gonna return to it.
One. I thought you bought new cases and stuff.
I had this idea for modular cases. So you have the
I mean,
sorry?
Well, that's how I did it. I've got all these. I cannot turn my camera because otherwise my internet cable will pop out and I'll be gone. But basically, I've got my whole rack is made up of smaller modules. So I've got basically I can take them around the studio, and I feel that I'm using them much more when they are in smaller cases.
Totally.
Eventually I want to like a little skiff for each of them. Actually, I'm thinking about making 3D printed skiffs for custom ones for each. So I basically have exactly like that, Robert, something like that. Just so I have all the modules, I could just lay them out on the table and just rearrange them when I want to. See, Nadia.
Hey, Nadia.
She's up early.
Yeah.
But
she's
we meet each other all the time because of the time difference.
Yeah.
Joachim, just one question, because I mean the reason why I got into looking for different cases was the power supplies that I was able to find for these skiffs, they were always kind of humming or doing problems because when I used them on stage with this special loudspeaker, you would hear everything.
Right.
So I had to, so I had this custom thing built by Num Num Cases. Shout out with this ACL low noise power supply.
Right.
And that was super helpful. And now we have the power in one main case, and then you can daisy chain the power going from one to the other. And it's like, that was really helpful.
Yeah, the ones that I currently have are basically just manufactured cases with built-in power supply. So, but if I want to go smaller and just do one enclosure per unit, or maybe just have a few, maybe just have a few that go together really well. I basically just want to switch to smaller cases. Basically, that's basically what I'm saying. But I haven't really gone that deep into it. I do realize that the power thing is probably the most difficult thing to solve.
Yeah, that takes space. Yeah. But shout out.
Anyway, so you miss your modular. Well,
yes.
Yeah, I know how it feels.
I love not traveling for that because now I'm more here and I can enjoy all of that. I don't know how it's with you people, but traveling is so uncreative. You lose so much time. So it's really great.
I love traveling. I was like, my old Golf broke down like 1 hour from Berlin, and I had to change the battery, and I had to take this shitty normal train, like a local train. But I was like in this train, and the landscape passed by. I was like so happy. I was like, I'm on tour. I'm traveling. This is so nice. No, I'm really missing it. Like even this like S-Bahn local train kind of thing. I was like super happy.
Yeah, it's time consuming, but it also gives you a lot of energy because there's so many impressions, so there's so much change of environment can sometimes be very, very, very refreshing, I think. Anyway, I can do without it, but I wouldn't mind traveling again as well. So Robert, anything you want to share? I mean, Kaan has already made us aware of the album you did together.
No,
you've already talked about the residency and stuff, but anything else maybe? Oh, somebody coming in with Insect coming in with a last minute question. That's fine.
Dresden in the house.
Oh,
sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, I know Insect O.
Nice. Hello, Insect O. Robert, can Robert talk about his live set he's doing with Lucas G?
Lucas Guterres. I mean, there's a past live show for Applied Autonomy. We have 2 pieces on at the moment at CTM, the Siberia online project. Lucas works with Unity, and he's like he has a super bright mind when it comes to forms and shapes and colors. And we figure out now a way for the new album where he can join, and we like a proper AV show together, but he is also providing me objects and technology that I can play alone sometimes. With Lucas, it's we like chatting every day, and there's like a new idea every day coming up. We just heard that we might do some that we do spin at Ars Electronica in September. So with Lucas, it's a super productive collaboration, and he studied industrial design, so he really knows what he's doing when it comes to shapes, and he's doing workshops, and I was taking part of Module 8 workshop he gave at Acoustics Berlin. It was very interesting to see how he's using the program, because you can have live feed from your laptop camera. You can bring in other software like Unity, and he's a teacher. He's a friend. There will be more stuff coming from us, watch out.
Great, awesome.
Johan, you.
Yeah, Jochen.
Oh, yes. Well, I mean, the people who visit this chat often they know that every Sunday we do a remote jam or a jam in like a live improvisation, basically. We've been doing that since the lockdown, and number 37 is coming up this Sunday. I'm not going to reveal who it is, but it's I'm really excited about that one, and it's going to be remote for sure. So it's synced up, not synced
How
up.
do you
Okay,
sync?
how do you think? Yeah, I'll explain it again. We've been explaining it a lot of times, but we still get questions about it. So anyway, okay, quickly, the syncing is not the issue because sync is sync, and I do it by hand. It's just DJ skills. Just press start on time, and I can nudge the clock, so it's always running in sync. How do they sync? Okay, here we go. But obviously, the issue you have to deal with if you're playing with somebody over the internet is latency. And that's the thing, that's the thing you have to solve. And there's this technology called Ninjam. It's been around for a while, for a long time. And basically, that is a client. There's several programs that do it. Like Reaper has it built in, and there's also a plugin called Jumptaba. Sorry. And basically you insert it on your master channel, and it connects to a server, and it sends the audio to the server, and the person on the other end does the same thing. So that takes care of the audio traffic, and then on the server it's buffered by a certain amount depending on the tempo of the session, and it's music. It basically, the delay is being turned into a musical interval, so it's always 2 bars or the amount of bars you set. So you are in sync, but if I do something, the other person on the other hand hears it 2 bars later, and the other way around. So you are in sync in terms of tempo, but you are not actually in sync because there is this delay. But because it's a musical interval, it's that whole idea or the whole delay thing kind of disappears in your mind after playing like that for like 5 minutes. In sync. If you play like that with another person, basically all you're doing is reacting to whatever is going on musically, and so it feels exactly the same as playing with somebody in real time. But if you make slow movements, if you just slowly move from scene to scene or from space to space, or however you would call it, it doesn't feel like there is anything weird going on. It feels very natural, and you're just basically reacting to whatever you hear the other person doing. But
was the same with Surgeon?
Yeah, with Surgeon was also with this technology, with all the ones that I've done so far. Actually, the last one I've done 2 with Surgeon. One was actually beat matched, so synced to I synced to whatever he was doing. But the last one we did was completely clockless, so we just had all the machines running on their own individual internal clocks, and we just built like a soundscapey kind of thing, in real time. But it's the only issue you really have to solve is that Ninjam has public servers available, but they are accessible to anyone who is trying to log in. So we have had to set up a private server to make sure that nobody is going to jam along when we are on air, like some strange people from I don't know, anywhere somewhere in the world. But anyway, that's how it works. And we've got one coming up this Sunday again. So have an eye out for that. It's always at 8 o'clock on Sunday. And the other thing that I want to make people aware of is our Discord server. It's becoming a really nice place for people to hang out, talk about music, having conversations like these, but with a way larger group of people and in real time. It's like a real-time forum, basically. So the Twiddlers Hangout text version, basically. And the link should appear in the comments or are under the video. So check that out. It's a really nice community. And the last one is we have a Patreon page for people who want to support this project and want to get some extra goodies like sound sound packs and stuff like that, and some footage or recordings that we don't publish elsewhere. And we do master classes there and everything. So have a look there. Links should be available. That's it from my side for this week. So thanks people for hanging out. Thanks, Esther. Really nice seeing you.
Yeah, likewise. Nice to meet Robert and Kaan too.
Yeah, nice to catch up. Robert, good to see you, man. Really enjoyed talking to you. Good luck with everything you've got coming up. And Kaan, nice to meet you. Somebody's buying your album. There we go. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Hassan. So you sold an album. Awesome. Thanks. Thanks for everybody who was here on YouTube and Twitch. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for your questions.
What's your favorite kick drum?
What's yours, Robert?
I think it's Creator from VDM and in hardware, and Kick 2 as software. Kick Drum 2, it's called.
Okay, I don't know that one. Okay,
it's awesome.
Oh, you saw that in the comments somewhere. Okay. Favorite 303 track is Sander is asking. I don't know, man. There's so many. I don't know. Anyway, let's keep that for another time. I have to think about that too long. That would ruin the end. Anyway, thanks guys. Thanks everybody. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.